So the first grapefruit we're going to do here, it's from a company called The Bitter Housewife. I fucking love everything about the branding of this one. So many of these, a lot goes into the branding, and I can see how it's really good branding, and it's like really cool, and the graphic profile is really cool, and like the copywriting, a lot of people, worked on it. But this shit, it's like maybe my favorite just in terms of branding. The Bitter Housewife is such a fucking good name for a brand. I don't know. Is it that it's like that it's titillatingly maybe misogynistic? And I think that sort of non-PC thing is interesting. And if that's the case, then I want to renounce and deject myself, because I've had a realization that I think I should be more PC. And I think I should be more humble, and I shouldn't just assume that I have the answers to everything. I think certain things with like pronouns, using people's pronouns and stuff, I just think maybe I've had this shitty attitude about it. Like I have this thing that I say where like some people call me Joey and I don't like it. And I've just adopted this attitude like I don't think we're allowed to decide what people call us. So I just let people call me Joey. But maybe that's wrong. Maybe that's wrong. Maybe I should tell people that they're not allowed to call me Joey, and I should use people's preferred pronoun correctly. I've noticed something that I've thought about with the pronoun thing is that there's an interesting thing with how older people, counterintuitively, older people are almost better at it than young people. People my age, people in their 30s, have this shitty attitude like, nah, we're very skeptical of that. Whereas older people like older than 40, they have this attitude like they don't in real time understand what it is, so they're just going to accept it at face value, and it's just like not their generation that came up with it. People in their 50s and 60s, I know lots of liberals in their 50s and 60s who struggle linguistically to use people's preferred pronouns, but they try, and they have no qualm, like they don't have any, they are certain that they want to do the right thing there. Whereas people in their 30s are like, I don't know, there's a lot of caveats. Like, you're really going to have to explain to me why I'm supposed to use this pronoun on you. Because there's a thing where we kind of feel like we are part of the generation that came up with it. And so we feel a certain stake, like we feel like we have a right to say something about it. But it's like, that's a very weird feeling. I don't know that we should have that feeling. How did I get from one of those things to the other? Yeah. It's just problematic that things that are wrong, something can be wrong and funny. That's just unfortunate, but it's just true. Like, I've talked about that before, of how like the newest Dave Chappelle special, who knows what it's called? I don't know what it's called. But it's just, there are things there that aren't right. Like, that's wrong. It's morally wrong. The things he says and the ideas he puts forward, they're just morally wrong. But it's fucking hilarious. Like, yes, like there's punchlines like there's something about like he's in the club and some lesbian fella steps up to him and starts talking shit, and he just goes, he's like, I unballed my fist and I spoke softly, lovingly, almost like a pimp would. And I said, bitch, I'm about to slap the shit out of you. And that thing of like those 100 seconds of the beginning to the end of that bit, it's like one of the most hilarious bits I've ever seen. But it's so not good. It's just not good. And on some level, we just have to accept that can be the case. Like, some things are just funny even though they're wrong. God damn it, that's a shame. Because the big thing that I think I've already said one time on the podcast in that special is like, Dave Chappelle has this big thing of how he said all these shitty things about trans people. And then he had a friend who was a comedian who was a trans person. And that trans person always said, Dave Chappelle, you're all right. Your trans jokes are funny. It's all right. So he always felt like, nah, I got someone on the inside telling me that it's all right. So he uses that to say that, to validate that he's not being a bad person. But then in the end of this story about this friend that he has who's a comedian, who's a trans person, the end of the story is that person kills themselves. And that person kills themselves because the world is a hateful place towards trans people. And part of the hate towards trans people is coming from Dave Chappelle. And he does not reflect upon the fact, there's no reflection there. He does not realize that he's part of that. He does not say in the special, oh, I realize that I am part of the problem and why that person committed suicide. He just says it as a sad thing that happened. As if that person just had some mental health issues, some vague, undefined, unnamed mental health issues that are completely devoid of context and that have nothing to do with the hateful nature of the world towards trans people, you know? So I don't think that's cool, Dave Chappelle. And now I'm praying that Dave Chappelle is listening to my podcast. So the brand is called the Bitter Housewife. You get it in this cool cardboard box, and on the side of the box it just says, in like this bold, low weight, it's almost like the font Impact, but it's all caps, and it's just like a real clean sans serif condensed font, and it just says, "Be bitterly honest." And it's just like, be bitterly honest is I don't know, it's just so fucking cool to me somehow. I don't know why. So I'm going to now read the side of this can. A bitterly honest beverage, ruby grapefruit and earthy ginger balanced with bitter herbs, a touch of hops, and zero sweet. Sparkling complex bitter. Oh, here's 3 adjectives. This is a new paragraph. 3 adjectives. Sparkling, complex, bitter. Like you. A zero alcohol sparkling aperitif. Dude, I have to say that I fucking love everything about that. It's from Portland, Oregon, obviously. 0 sugar, 0 alcohol. Only 0 calories. All right, let's try this. Grapefruit. So it's bitters. It's a bitters company. They make bitters. You can pour them in sparkling water, but then they also have a pre-mixed one where you get a can of sparkling water that they put the appropriate amount of bitters in, and they sent me a variety pack for free. Friends of the pod. The Bitter Housewife. Oh, fuck, that's very bitter. Oh, fuck, that's delicious. That's awesome. Because it's bitter. You know how, like, a grapefruit, when you eat a grapefruit straight without sugar on it, sometimes you get one that's, like, a little bit extra bitter. And it can be so bitter that it tastes like just a mouthful of dirt. But it's fucking delicious. This is like that, and then you ride that dirt flavor all the way into cardamom. And you come out the other end and you realize that, oh, I just rode a roller coaster through a spice rack, my dude. Did it say cardamom? Earthy ginger. Oh, that's ginger. Now the ginger is... Honestly, there's a beverage that I talk about all the time on the podcast that we used to make at Sushi Kapatamura. I talk about it all the time. I never drink it. But today, for the first time in years, I made it. I went to the store. I got ginger. I peeled the ginger. I grated the ginger. And I took the grated ginger and I pressed it through a sieve to get the straight juice out of the ginger. I made the woman try the straight ginger juice because it's a absolutely otherworldly experience. Excuse me, sparkling water burp. Drinking a tiny sip even of completely straight ginger juice is so sharp and painful and convivial. It's just like this zap all the way through your brain. And so I made the woman drink a little bit of straight ginger juice, but that's not the drink. What I made a bunch of ginger juice, and then I took yuzu marmalade that you can buy on Amazon or in any Asian grocery store. You mix yuzu marmalade and fresh squeezed just ginger juice from ginger itself. And you pour hot water on it and you mix it and it turns into this bittersweet tea that is just the most wonderful, fresh, delicious thing that's very good for nausea. As the woman was a little bit nauseous, you know. So what I was going to say is ginger is an incredible thing as a beverage, but having tried maybe 10 sparkling waters with the word ginger on the can, I still haven't found one where they can keep the freshness of it. It doesn't survive canning, I think. And this is delicious, but not because of the ginger. The snappiness of ginger does not survive canning. I'm going to be bitterly honest there. As much as this might be my new favorite sparkling water brand, having reviewed 200 of them, episode 71, I'm still going to say that the ginger doesn't have much life. But the grapefruit is incredible, and there are so many herbs. Hops, that's also the bitterness. They did take like 5 different bitter things, like grapefruit and hops. Yeah, it's a lot of earthy, bitter stuff in here. I mean, that's incredible. That's incredible. That's a 10 out of 10. That's a 10 out of 10. I love that. The bitter housewife. That makes me happy.